Welcome to Thursday. It is Meet the Press Daily, and we are going to begin our tap dance when it comes to the briefing. I'm Chuck Todd, and I'm going to be continuing MSNBC's breaking news coverage of the coronavirus pandemic for this hour and then some. We are standing by for today's update from the White House Coronavirus Task Force. The president is apparently going to also participate in this briefing after he spoke to governors across the country about his new plan to contain the virus, which basically involves an attempt to split the United States into high-risk and low-risk areas, perhaps as a way to potentially allow some people to go back to work. Although a number of questions are being raised about that kind of strategy, and it is not clear whether this is a serious proposal or that could be overtaken by events, or this is actually the plan that's somehow approved by scientists going forward. Of course, right now, everyone in the country, including the president, is trying to wrap their arms around what to do next as we all grapple with what will happen next. So let's take a minute to digest where we are right now. There's no better visual way to hammer home this daunting challenge of this moment and what lies ahead than the graphic you are looking at on screen right now. The United States is about to have more cases than Italy. Maybe they're already, but it is about to surpass Italy, which is the current global epicenter of this outbreak. For many of us, it's hard to fully grasp how suddenly and dramatically our daily lives have changed as we've climbed this curve. All right, go back into your Wayback Machine. Just 20 days ago, 20, there were a mere 200 confirmed cases on this map. The economy was still humming, breaking records at the stock market. President Trump was actually complaining about having to let a cruise ship ashore, which, ready for this, would have added 21 cases to the national total. He didn't want to have more cases. I don't want to double the number of cases. Well, now there are more than 75,000 across the country. More than 1,000 people have died. Millions of people have lost their jobs. Congress is passing the largest emergency relief bill in American history. This is all in the span of 20 days. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.